Hold on,
Oh,
guys. I gotta give my friend Colleen kudos. We just, I just saw her 160-mile ride yesterday. So
that's a lot of miles.
she's
That's
on,
more than I've ever done.
she's on that Unbound training grind.
Yeah, I thought I was doing big miles, but
10 and a half
apparently not enough.
hours.
Oh my goodness. I think my first century almost took me 10.5 hours.
Yeah. Rawson, you just completed 5 miles.
Yeah. Yep. Big training day today.
Yeah, it was the most active recovery I've ever seen.
I've been off my
Yeah.
bike since the Traka mid-season break.
Hmm.
How long you
You get
taking off?
I'm probably gonna ride again on Sunday, so it'll have been a week, 7 days. But I think I need it because between just being over in Spain, traveling home, and then jumping straight into working through this weekend, it's kind of been crazy. But yeah, I'm definitely already itching to ride again.
Yeah, taking a break is hard. I think I've only actually ever taken two breaks off the bike in my whole career. It's
Yeah,
hard.
what was the longest break you took?
I took 6 weeks off last summer when I broke my arm.
Forced, yeah.
I got really good at one-armed disc golf.
The disc golf is actually really good in Brevard.
Yeah, I was disappointed I forgot to bring a disc last time.
Rawson, how long have you taken off?
Uh, Usually off season is like 2 or 3 weeks, and then usually like 5 to 7 days mid season. But I think this year I'm gonna try and take a longer break after Unbound. Because last year I took 6 days off and was like already back to normal after like a week. So I am hoping if I take longer off, then I'll have more room to build towards Leadville and then even like the later season races.
Hmm. Nice.
Yeah. Well, you want to tell us about your experience, Nina? I've been waiting all week to hear about it.
Yeah, you guys had to record without me last week, and you did a great job.
Yeah, we got a YouTube comment.
From you commenting
No, it
on the
wasn't even from
podcast.
me this time.
Oh, sweet.
Some
Nice.
dude was asking what the brand of the breath rate monitor was.
Nice. Yeah, I sent it to a
We're
few of
a
my athletes, so could have
um,
been one of them.
we're a useful podcast.
Nice. Yeah, it was very informative and entertaining. But yeah, let's talk about the Traka. I got back 2 days ago. It feels like I just got back though. I'm like super jet lagged. But yeah, this was my third race internationally. And yeah, I feel like Girona is is a place that everyone always hypes up as like the gravel capital of Europe, and everyone goes there for their winter training camps. So I was really interested in going there and just checking it out and experiencing like the whole scene there. And yeah, it did not disappoint. It's definitely a huge event. There were so many people there that I know from over the years that I didn't even know were there. And then after the race, I saw they had posted about it. It's like, oh, you were there too? So it was kind of like everyone was in the same place. Um, and truly, everybody that was in that race was fast. Like there wasn't anybody signed up for that race that was just like, oh, it's just like a personal challenge. Like I'm just gonna like try to do this. Like all of my competitors at least were coming from like a professional background. Um, so it was really, really cool to be in the pro elite class there, and Sophia Gomez Villafañe was there. Leah Vanderlinden was there. Previous winners were there, so it was, a lot of big names. And it's funny because leading up to the race, well, they started like the 560K, which is a new distance this year. They started that I think on Thursday, and then on Friday they did the 360K, and Saturday was my race, which was a 200K, and Sunday they had the 100K distance. And as I was kind of following along on socials with the 560 and the 360, I was like thinking to myself, like, you know, usually I'm not super stressed going into an ultra endurance race because it's longer and I'm that's my comfort zone. Um, but relatively, the 200K is one of the shorter distances at this race, and my nerves were kind of ramping up as I was realizing, oh crap, people are really gonna race this. Um, it's gonna be a hard race, and it was. Like it started off really, really hard, and some of that has to do with just the pro elite field being so um, just so professional and so fast. But it definitely was a shock, and I had to remind myself to keep the pace in check, and remind myself it's going to be a long day. This is minute 30. It's not going to make or break anything um, if I'm not with the group. So just raced my race, and drafting in the pro elite class for women wasn't allowed except if you were drafting another pro elite woman. So that also made for an interesting race. So I really had to, be smart and um, yeah, just keep that in mind. And but yeah, I was out there for 9.5 hours, and out of all the women, I think there's like 147 women total in the 200K. I placed kind of like in the middle of the pack there. I think around like 60th out of like the 140. So yeah, I was happy with it, and it definitely felt like a personal achievement. And that course was insane. um, I definitely it was so different than any gravel racing I've done, especially in the US.
Yeah, that's. I was watching the live stream, and that course definitely looks like something we couldn't even conceptualize making over here. Just how unique the terrain was. Like, you're riding through some weird forest, and then all of a sudden you're downtown.
Yeah, it was like more than 80% gravel. And a lot of that gravel was like you would have been way more comfortable on a mountain bike kind of gravel. Technical, like double track. There was single track in there. Um, and a lot of it too, and this goes back to how I was like, 200K, shorter than like, one of the shorter distances at this event. Um, could I have paced it better if I was doing a longer distance, just knowing that it is longer? And I kind of feel like a part of that answer could be no, just because a lot of these climbs are just so steep, that it requires like a minimum power output to get up them in the first place. Um, and so, and reading other people's like race recaps, Chris Melman got fifth, I think, in the 560K. He lives in Colorado. Um, and he was talking about his bike setup and his pacing and stuff, and he was like, I definitely would have gone with easier gearing, um, especially like with the weighted down bike for the 560. I think it's all self-supported, um, and I definitely agreed with him on that. Um, For the 200K, I was able to get away with, grinding more, but it definitely caught up to me later in the race when it started getting hot. It it really started getting hot out there and it was dry. There's a big stretch in the middle of the race that's pretty fast and flat, but it's very exposed. And I wasn't able to like draft people. So it got pretty demoralizing out there and I went to some pretty dark places. But, if you're not during a race, then what are you doing?
Yeah. Like I didn't know I didn't really understand the drafting rule all that much, but what would you say how would you say that changed that? Because that sounds terrible to be alone with no women and then men are passing you, but you're not even allowed to hop on a wheel.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for the front group. For the top 20, 30 women in my field that are able to stay together, yeah, it makes sense. But I think that for those of us who get dropped off the back and we're kind of fighting our own fight, like it's it's hard because, there are guys catching us that were literally like, you want to like they were struggling and they were like, you want to trade pulls, you want to work together or like hop on my wheel, and I was like, I can't. Um,
Yeah.
or literally there'd be a pace line and I would just have to be riding beside them. And a lot of people didn't even know that was a rule, so they were just kind of like, maybe they just thought I was a bad rider, didn't know what I was doing. Um, but I don't know, I feel like following the rules is important. And even if I wasn't in contention for even like a top 20, like um, yeah, it's like everybody has to play by the rules. And the Traka in particular, I think a lot of the Gravel Earth Series races, um, they have a lot of different rules for the pro elite class just to make sure um, that it's fair and also that people are respecting the race and playing nice. Um, like one of the rules is that you have to label all of your gels and bars with um, your number. So if you litter outside of the designated areas, like just anywhere on a course, and they find it, they can penalize you,
Hmm.
just so that they can minimize littering. Um, which was a cool concept and it made sense. So they're just like things like that. Um, But yeah, it ended up not being super bad that I couldn't draft people. More than anything, I feel like it wasn't so much missing out on the benefit of actually drafting, but more so missing out on the benefit of riding with people. Um,
Mm.
I feel like it's very uplifting and empowering to be in a pace line and trading poles and not being able to do that. You just feel like you're on your own ride and you're seeing people go by and it's like, I don't know. It's definitely a bummer, but
Yeah.
part of the game, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. The gel labeling is definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, they had areas within the feed zones that was like start of the litter zone and end of the litter zone, and there were just piles of wrappers. It was insane. But it was cool because then like it's probably so much easier for the volunteers to clean up, and then you're hopefully minimizing littering along the course. Although I saw a lot of gels and bar wrappers and shoes out there. So still,
Have you
but
checked your position to see if you've moved up based on gel penalties yet?
I have not. Um, no, I have not. I don't know how they would do that, but yeah. Apparently in Unbound of last year, I believe, um, when Rose won, is it Rosa or Rose? I think
Rosa.
it's Rosa. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that like she was fighting on the lead with like Sophia and few other women, or maybe it was just them, and there was something that like one of them dropped a gel wrapper and they had to go back and pick it up.
Hmm,
Um, yeah. Um,
that's interesting.
yeah, yeah, so don't litter.
Yeah, don't litter.
I didn't stay for the after party at the truck.
Oh, darn.
I
Well,
was
what
too
was
cooked.
the yeah, what was
What
the
did you say? Oh, sorry. I was gonna say,
go
isn't there
ahead.
an after party after the Rift? I feel like I've
Uh,
heard there is.
I don't think there was last year. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Rift. Why? You want to go?
Oh, not really. I just heard there was.
Not really.
Do you have a special outfit for it?
No.
We should just like jump in a Nordic pond or something
A
for
Nordic
cover.
pond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean, what I didn't want to call it a cold puddle.
The ponds that there are there usually have like what's it called? Like not geysers, like they're heated.
Like
Like
geothermal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you could
That's
do like contrast therapy with natural pools.
that is all I wanted to do at the Traka, was just douse my head in water. Like it ended up that I just had two bottles on the bike solely for that, and I was thinking of your idea of like the Usui with the like the
Yeah.
slow leaking water. And I was like, that's what I need right now.
Yeah, I decided against trying to engineer that in the 6 weeks I had before Unbound when I came up with it. Maybe I'll
Countdown is
try.
real.
Yeah, maybe if there's another hot race, I'll consider trying it. But here was my expansion of that idea. Came up with this the other day.
Oh
So you know how
boy,
when you're,
buckle up.
you're wearing a Usui and the bladder is like a rectangle, but the bag has like a little flare at the bottom, and there's like little pockets of air that nothing is in. So I want to put like ice packs in those two little pockets because I feel like even when you fill a bladder with all ice, like it's gone within 45 minutes. But I'm thinking those ice pack things, like with the gel inside that you freeze, those tend to stay frozen a lot longer. So put some of those in there. We got cooling. Did it end up being hot
Yeah,
for the Traka?
very hot. Yeah. I mean,
Very.
I don't know what it got up to. It was definitely in the 70s. Um, it's very dry out there, and the sun is
Mm.
intense, and there was a lot of exposure. And yeah, I thought I was gonna die in the last 15 kilometers. I was riding with this girl, Virginie from Canada, and she was like pushing the pace up the climb. And we were kind of in cahoots that we were just gonna like ride it out and help each other survive to the finish. But she was super, super strong up this last pitch, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it. But then there were river crossings at the end, and that kind of helped. But yeah, and then they didn't have water at the finish.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I did a race that did that once. I was so mad.
They had like they had this little eating area, and my mom was out there, and she tried to go in there to get me some water or some cold drink because she knew I was finishing soon. They wouldn't let her in because it was only for racers. And then, I finished and I immediately just like sat down and was like dying. And then I finally got up and like walked over there. and I asked them for a Coke, and they gave me a Diet Coke.
Oh my
'Cause that's all they
gosh.
had. And they had a bunch of food, which is like super nice, like buffet style. And it's got a bowl of rice, and it was like cold rice. And I was like, bro,
Oh my
not very appetizing.
yeah. So the 200K is not self-supported, right?
No, you can have a support crew. I think it's like I think you can have two people, like uh like two people to feed zones, one mechanic and then one person doing like bottles, gels, stuff
Hmm,
like that.
that's cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. Roston, what is your opinion? Do you prefer races where you're allowed to have crew, or would you rather have to carry it all yourself and figure it out?
Mm, depends on the race, I guess. I think like the long races, yeah, it's cool that some of them are self-supported. I like it. I think it just adds another element of like preparation you have to do. Um, but yeah, for like short races, then it's cool having support too. I don't know.
Hmm.
Doesn't really make a difference to me. Just whatever the rules are.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you prefer, Nina?
I feel like I'd have an edge the more self-supported it is. Like the less feed zones there are, um, if there's no outside support allowed, like I feel like that'd be better for me. Like anything that makes the race harder and the logistics more, um, you know, bring on the horrible conditions and the mud and the barbed wire. Um,
Barbed wire.
yeah. Yeah, Unbound.
There's barbed wire at Unbound?
You didn't hear about that? Yeah, like
Why did no one tell me?
I think this was 2 years ago. I don't know. I get my years mixed up. One of the recent years, like that hike a bike section early on in the race, that was like a mud pit,
Oh
that
yeah,
Keegan
yeah.
just like rode through, like a boss. The sides had barbed wire, and people were like, trying to avoid the mud and walking in like less mud on like the grass on the sides. But then like people are getting cut by barbed wire.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was actually there that year, but the course I did got to turn like a
Way
hundred yards
before.
before the mud section.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there and starting in the amateur wave, so the pros had already gone through, and so on the side of the road there was just like it literally looked like a piece of single track at that point from all the people that had been riding it, and I fell into some barbed wire, so
Did
Oh
you
yeah,
my
it will
actually?
get you. Yeah, because it was super slippery still, most people were running, but I was able to ride it, but it was like kind of sketchy. Like you're slipping all over the place. And yeah, there's like a little like whoop de doo thingy, and I like went, yeah, went into some
Yeah.
barbed wire.
Yeah, I remember that year, apparently, I mean, most people their strategy was get to that section and try to ride as much as they could. But apparently Adam Roberge got off his bike and like before the mud even started and just ran the whole thing. So he got out of the mud section and his bike was still like pristine, which I feel like might have been the move.
Yeah, I think
Especially that early in the race, like then your
yeah,
drivetrain's not like the whole race.
I think that takes for me that would take so much like mental grit in those 10 miles getting there, knowing I was gonna have to get off and run for a good time because I just hate running so much.
That year I had my drop bar hardtail, but I put gravel tires on it. So I had just like insane mud clearance. And by the time we got through, or I got through that section, I had caught like the entire pro women's field and then like the back of the men's field that started like 20 minutes ahead, which I went out way too hard. But even with like with how hard we started, and then with the bike I had, it was crazy.
I
Did you
feel
have
like
a
the
Go
I feel
ahead.
like I feel like the amateurs race is way sketchier than the pro race. Like, so my mom was taking some videos of like this one turn in the Traka that was like, I don't know, like 50 miles in, and she got the lead pack going through, and everybody's like staying in their lane, holding their position, um, taking the turn kind of like smart. And then, second group goes through, third group, and then it starts getting into like the back of the pro fields and like the amateurs. And they're so sketchy compared to the pros. Like, so many of the guys blasted past the turn, had to turn around, were riding over the curb and like cutting people off that were like turning in the like in the right spot, and it was just like chaos. Um I definitely have heard that from like road racing, especially is like the higher the category you move up, just like the less crashes there are. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that same thing too. And like in the couple of pro fields I've started in, it's like it's super fast and aggressive, but everyone like knows how to be aggressive and still be safe. Like you can bump bars and rub shoulders, and like people like know, like they don't freak out. They just kind of like everyone reacts so fast, and it just like somehow works out that no one
Hmm.
crashes even when you're going super fast on sketchy roads. But then in the amateur fields, it's like they try to race it the same way as the pros, but then they don't have the skills to actually stay upright.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting concept, especially considering that like there's usually way more people in the amateur field and there's still going like the same speeds as the pro field at the start because everyone always goes out too hard.
So 2 years ago at Unbound, looking at Strava, the front of the amateur field in the like what was it 10 miles before the mud section averaged like 4 miles an hour more than the pro men. Like it was insane. Like my average heart rate just sitting in the like wheels of that front group was like 200 for the start of a 200-mile race. It was crazy. And there was like a tandem person at the front just going
Oh
all
my
out.
gosh. In the
It was
50
Or
mile
crazy.
distance, in the 50-mile distance that I was doing, the e-bike field started in the same wave as me. And
there's an
so
e-bike field?
either that or someone was cheating. But I believe there was an e-bike field in the 50 mile. And we get to this one point and he just rides up the left side, goes straight off the front, and we never see him again. And it took us a while for someone to like announce that he was on an e-bike. We thought someone was just gone. Like had to be
You're
a
trying to chase him.
500-watt pole. Yeah, we did for a little bit before someone was like, "He was on an e-bike. We can slow down." Because it was like a very dense junior field. Because that year the only field that had a junior category was the 50 mile. So it was a bunch of like 16-year-old crackheads smashing on the front the whole 2.5 hours.
A bunch of Mach 1 prospects.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw you drink from your flow bottle. You know what's sick? This is a weird aside, but um today and tomorrow is this like Sorba Summit. Sorba is the Southern Off-Road Cycling Association for like trails and forests in the southeast. And I work for like the Pisgah. chapter. Um, but at the summit, they were like doing group rides after like all the conferences and stuff, and they had flow there. Like they had these coolers with like flow stickers, like electrolyte and endurance mix. So apparently they worked out some deal with flow. So I was like, sick.
Yeah. I need one of those for in my fridge so that every day I can just dispense some flow into a bottle. That'd be so convenient. The worst part about like eating carbs is making them. Like making all your flow gels and your endurance mix. I just like that's my least favorite part about riding is sitting and making bottles for 10 minutes before every ride.
Do you hate it, Rostin?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I've been doing like uh, more real food on just like endurance rides. I guess not so much anymore, but at least over the winter, yeah, I just did like even like trail mix, and yeah, just like food with like more actual nutrients. Just since if you're gonna be riding for 6 hours and not eating like lunch or whatever, I figured it'd be good to just get some like actual food. Um, so yeah, it's always nice to do that. But now that racing's here, I guess it's more like training the gut with just flow.
Yeah, when I was racing with Drew a few months ago, he told me that
1 month ago.
that was only a month ago. Oh my
Wait,
goodness. Yeah, it
no,
was.
maybe 2.
That was only like 4 or 5 weeks ago. That's insane. The Unbound blocks felt so long. But he was
He's
saying that,
counting down the days.
yeah, for real. Like halfway through, he noticed how much I was drinking and just started yelling at me to drink like every 5 minutes, and then told me that at Unbound I should try and do 100 grams an hour, and that sounded absurd to me. But ever since then, I've been trying to gut train up to 100 an hour for like 11 and a half hours, which sounds insane, but it is cool to like see other adaptations other than just your legs when you're training your gut and stuff like that.
Yeah. What are you at?
On my interval days, I've been doing over 100, but on endurance days, I've been at 75.
I recently had a
Tomorrow,
talk with one of the
yeah, go
athletes
ahead.
that I, one of the athletes I coach. I was chatting to him um, about one of those cool adaptations being like your muscles are able to store more glycogen. Um, so, you just have a bigger pool to pull from. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of carbs and glycogen, and on a topic me and Rostin hit last week, I found a Garmin app that lets you track in real time your carb intakes. It's called Eat My Ride. I know they've been around a while as like a phone app, but I just discovered their Garmin app where you can input like custom nutrition. So I have in there like a 60-gram bottle of flow and a 90-gram bottle of flow and like every concentration of flow flask I've ever made. And you're able to tell it like when you consumed it, and that's been helpful for me for my gut training, like actually just being able to see a number of average intake rather than trying to do the math in real time. But also, after every ride, I did a 4 hour ride like 2 days ago, and it told me that my glycogen store depletion was negative 112, meaning that I consumed 112 grams of excess carbs. And I'm like, that's not, there's no way.
Yeah. I usually try to keep it in my head, but I also find that it could kind of be an eye opener to see. I don't know if like Eat My Ride does this, but like a breakdown of like when you consume the carbs. So like, okay, first hour you hit 80, second hour was 75, third hour you drop to 50. Because I feel like that tends to happen for me, but then I get to the end of the ride and I'm like, okay, I drank this much of my bladder. I had this many gels divided by the amount of hours the ride was. Boom, that's like the average per hour. But I think like the
Mhm.
breakdown from like hour one to two to three, etc., matters a lot because like you could be solid or like eating more than you need to the first few hours of a race, but then really drop off and the average still might look fine, but in theory it was good, but then in application maybe it wasn't so ideal. Um, so I feel like that tool could be useful for just like keeping that in check if it
Yeah,
does
it
that.
does. It does record that, but the one thing that I don't like about it is that for bottles, it you can't tell it like I started the bottle now and I finished it later. It just assumes that you drank all of it at once. And they do have a second app that will let you, it's more of like instructions rather than recording. Like you can import, this is the intervals I'm doing, and this is all the food I want to take. And it'll tell you, like, based on the nutrition value of all of it, when you should take it. And I haven't tried that app yet, but apparently that one will let you track portions of a bottle rather than I just drank a liter all at once.
Speaking of macro tracking, um, one of our one of our good friends, Sam Schnepp, um, I coach him and he was texting me because he was like, I feel I feel good on the bike, but I feel just lethargic and tired and I don't know if I'm not eating enough. Like, my lunches have been smaller, but and this is not to throw him under the bus, but I think this is like a funny aside. And I'm like, well, do you wake up hungry? Do you crave sweets? He's like, yeah, I wake up really hungry. I'm craving sweets. I'm like, well, would it hurt to track for a few days? Because he has before, and he was like, okay, I'll do it. One day goes by, and he was like, well, yeah, it looks like I was 1,400 calories under what it recommends me to eat.
Oh my
I was like, there you go. I definitely think tracking, like, it's not something that is super sustainable to do all the time. Um, but I feel like doing it for a few days or a week kind of gives you a good idea as like a baseline of like, or a reference of what you should be doing. Um, and it can be really insightful.
Yeah. This is an idea I also had the other day, around the same time I came up with the ice pack Usui. Someone needs to make an app that uses some sort of like AI image analysis that'll let you like take a picture of your plate and it'll just automatically log your macros. That would be magical.
Yeah,
I
but
see all the problems with it, but if it would just work, that'd be so good.
I know, like, why can't you just have a microwave that you select exactly what you want to eat? Like, okay, I want sweet potato fries, and you press the button and you open it and they're there. Like, I see
Exactly.
the problems with it, but like,
But if it would just work.
yeah, exactly. In theory.
I mean, I feel like you could probably, with today's technology, make it pretty close if, like, you gave it a picture of your plate clearly laid out and, like, it on a
Hmm.
scale so it knew the total weight. Like, I feel like it could
Right.
get pretty close. Like, AI
Yeah.
image analysis is pretty crazy. Like, you give it this and it tells you everything about what's in the image. So,
That has to exist. Come on.
yeah. I mean,
Like, why are we doing all
it
this
sounds like something that
manually?
should.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got that Garmin scale that'll automatically sync your weight and stuff every morning when you stand on it. My friend has one of those. It's scary. You have to stand on it without socks on because it sends like electrical signals through you to figure out your body fat percentage and water content. And then you can tap it with your toe and it'll show you the weather.
Um, it's funny because in Spain, like rain, I guess, is rare. Um, to the point that when when there is rain on the forecast, you'll get a notification on your phone that says like weather alert, rainfall warning. And even if it's just like a drizzle going by, it'll say like it'll have like the little red exclamation mark and it'll say rainfall warning.
That I would have like if you told me to describe Spain's climate, I don't think I ever would have said dry. I didn't know that before. I feel like in my
I
head
think
it
it
always looks wet.
I think it goes through like seasons. But it was very different than what I expected. Barcelona was so like crazy insane. I was so happy when we finally got out of there. It's just like the traffic is insane. Like think of like just buses and cars with like an inch in between and then motorcycles going between them. Like um but then outside of the city, I mean, it was beautiful. It was just like all little villages and very old towns, like medieval times towns, very narrow streets, um, and yeah, had like a very, uh, what's the word? Like, not authentic, just like old days vibe. But it was cool. Like the architecture was really cool. And there was a lot more farmland than I expected, like a lot of
Mm,
vineyards. Um, so it was very interesting for sure. You could see Andorra from there. You could see the Pyrenees mountains,
mm.
like the snow-capped mountains in the distance. And I was like, I want to go there.
Was the course a lot through like those vineyard farmland areas?
Yeah, it started with more like climby, like mountainous terrain, kind of almost like like dry jungle. Um, and then the middle part of the course is a big stretch of like that, like farmlands, and then you were going through one of these villages, on like some cobblestones, and then yeah, then you'd be back on the farms. But then the end of the race was more of like that techie, um, more backcountry stuff.
Yeah, that's cool how they can have so much diversity, and I guess that can probably be made easier with such a long course, but I feel like there aren't many places in the US where even with a 200-mile course or even less than that, you can get very much diversity just because of how like large our geographical regions are here.
Yeah. And two different guys in the race like caught me and I guess recognized me and they're like, "Go Maki." They called me Maki. Well, 'cause like machina can be pronounced máquina, like machine in Spanish. So maybe that was like, yeah, Maki.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So this was a question I heard a lot of people posing around this race was which one would you say is like the more
The
competitive
competitive
race? Yeah.
like the 360 or the 200K.
Yeah.
Well, so the 200K is the one that I think maybe I'm wrong and I may stand corrected, but I think the 200K is the one that counts, like the points count towards the Gravel Earth series.
It's both of them. They give out points at both.
Okay.
That's why a lot of
Yeah.
people were questioning it. I don't know if it was equal points, but they were doing both. And
Mm-hmm.
then several of the pro men athletes actually ended up doing both days and then scoring double points.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
Matteo DeMarchi and Tobe Jorn Road, or however you say his name, both did.
Torbjorn,
Yeah, both did the 360 and the 200.
beast mode. Yeah. Dang. At least well, I don't know if it's better if the longer distance comes first, but
Yeah. Roston, if you had to pick one, which one would you make the flagship distance?
Probably the longer one.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I would say too.
360 or 560?
Hmm,
Mm.
there's a question.
Depends what mood I'm in.
He'll choose the morning of. I don't know. I don't think 560 is just so long that I feel like if it was the 560, it would have to be an event all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like there is potential in the sport of cycling for like the ultra endurance stuff to become popular. Like we've seen that in ultra running lately. Like Cocodona 250 was this week, and that's longer than what we're talking about here with cycling, and it's running. So I think there is potential for those longer distances to become popular, but I don't think it will ever be more popular when there's a 1 day event the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely want to go back next year and do the 360. Just to kind of
Yeah,
like I feel like I would go into it even less stressed out and more go even more my pace.
yeah.
And you get to
I don't
see
think
more of
I've.
the country.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly don't think I've ever done a race that was long enough where I felt like I wasn't in full go as hard as you can mode for most of the time, and I think I would like to try a race like that. I actually just signed up for Dam, which is Chase Works race in Minnesota, which is 240 miles, and I haven't decided if I'm actually going to do the race or not, or just go hang out with Chase. But I think that is long enough that I could get into that mindset.
When is it?
It's in the end of July, 2 weeks after the Rift.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I don't know where my distance threshold is for like, and I guess it has to do with the terrain too. Like miles don't really say much, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I think if we're talking hours, anything over, I feel like anything over 12 hours would be more of like in the mindset that I'm not pushing, like I'm not racing it. Like I'm just trying to conserve and really play it. Not that I don't play it smart for like a 10-hour race, but like I'd be more of like the bike packing mindset.
Yeah. I've never done any sort of bike packing or anything. The longest ride I've done in a long time was 8 hours a couple weeks ago, and for that I was still just riding like it was a normal endurance day. I didn't have any special, like, conservative mindset, and I think I'd like to try some of that at some point. Roston, I know
Rostin, you have
you've
some
done
experience
some of
with
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like more like you have to take care of yourself and your equipment. And yeah, no, it's definitely like a different, yeah, different, almost a different sport at that point. But yeah, it's fun when goes good and you're able to accomplish something.
What
Yeah,
do you feel
I
like is your distance or like your mile, like your hours threshold for that?
I think so far over the years it's kind of got bigger and bigger, I guess. So I've done a lot of like 24-hour races, and then last year I did part of the Arizona Trail, which was like a big step up in hours. But yeah, I want to like keep on pushing it. Um, and yeah, I want to do like more like multi-day bike packing stuff at some point. But yeah, I definitely like the duration of like 24-hour racing because it's easy enough to fit into a season. Like as long as you recover, take the recovery serious afterwards, it doesn't like leave you in a huge hole for a month. Um, so yeah, I like that duration, and it's also those types of races you can actually race. Whereas like some of the bike packing routes are more just riding, like it's more you against you. Um, but yeah, I like both. So
Hmm.
yeah, I've really wanted to do a 24-hour race for a while. Which one? Have you done a couple? And if so, which one would you recommend?
yeah, I've just done 24 hop twice, and then a local one here in Utah that's called Frog Hollow. I've done that one a couple times. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are the only two. I mean, 24 hop is definitely like if you're gonna do one, I would say do that one because it's the biggest one. It's kind of like the only like popular one that I know of. And yeah, it's a super cool event. Like probably top three, like just coolest. Like not even just the race, but just the whole like vibe and everything is really cool.
Yeah.
The spirit.
Uh-huh. Have you ever done any 24-hour racing?
No, I've done a 12. Have I done a 12? No, I think I've just done like a 6 or an 8 hour. That was like a relay race, but come on, we do that on a training ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like to try that for sure.
I've done wait, what's 5 times 24? I've done a 120-hour race,
What?
5-day stage race.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, we should all pull up to 24 hop next year. That'd be lit.
hmm I
Your
know. I'm already starting to
Yellowton.
put together the calendar. Oh yeah. I'm already starting to put together the calendar for next year. And yeah, we should all be a part of that conversation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, I'm leaving Mach 1 as soon as the
I,
contract is up. I'm
as
out.
soon as this podcast is over, I'm sending out sponsorship requests.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to do. That's one thing I do want to do more of, or I haven't really done any of it, but stage racing. That's something I've not really done at all. So that's something. I know there's like the Breck Epic, which I've looked into doing. Um, that's really like the only stage race or I guess off-road stage race or there's that one, and then there's what's the gravel one
The
in,
Oregon Trail.
yeah, those are the two that I know of that are kind of on my radar. So I would like to experiment with that style of racing because I think that I like the idea of just racing full gas for like 7 days. Seems like a cool challenge.
Yeah. I was in Breckenridge when Breck Epic was going on last year, and that made me want to get into mountain biking pretty bad. That was a cool race.
You guys can still register for the Rift mountain bike stage race, end of August.
I don't have a bike. My
Gravelable. I
dad has an
mean, you've got
e-mountain
the laugh
bike. They
fork.
got an do they? What'd you say? I didn't hear that.
You've got the laugh fork. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that
I
can
guess I
single
could
track.
try. But if they engineered the Lauf to be good on Iceland gravel, I can't imagine how gnarly their single track must be if they engineered their mountain bike to come with like two sixes.
So, the single track that I've ridden there, which again, I've only been there with my gravel bike, so I only did trails like near Reykjavik, the capital, that were pretty smooth and flowy. Just kind of like a few routes here and there. Um, so I am really curious to see what the terrain and trails are like in the north where they're hosting the mountain bike stage race. But yeah, you bring up a good point. Like if if the gravel is that gnarly that they were engineering a fork for it, yeah, what are we gonna what's the actual mountain biking like?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a point where mountain biking does start looking not enjoyable to me when it's really gnarly.
Oh,
Like
that's
I
my
prefer.
favorite.
Yeah, no, I can't. If I'm going like if I'm putting more mental effort into not dying than I am at going fast, that's just no.
Yeah.
Luckily, most of the mountain bike trails where I live now, the Segla is like a better bike than a mountain bike just because our trails are so smooth and flowy.
Yeah. Where's your favorite mountain biking been, Ralston? Did he die? Oh wait,
Must have.
Um,
yeah.
I froze
Just when
right
we
when
got asked him
you,
a
I think, were
question.
saying something to me.
He was.
I said, where's your favorite like mountain biking been?
I
Like your favorite
froze right
trails?
again, right when you asked me. Oh, favorite trail.
Like favorite place
Yeah.
to ride mountain bikes. Like that's mountain biking place.
Um, I would say honestly, some of my favorite rides I've done is just my local trails. Like I like
Besides your
to have
local
like a
trails.
variety besides my local trails. Um, ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. My local trails are really good because I'll start like on a big climb and climb like 5,000 feet, and then I'll do this like four-wheeler trail that's like has super good views the whole time, and then I'll drop down and do the single track, and you are on single track like the whole way down basically, and then you finish on gravel if you want. So those are like my favorite types of rides that just has like a ton of variety. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to check out the Bentonville trails this year because last time I was there, I only brought my gravel bike. So that's definitely some trails I'm looking forward to checking out.
There's surprisingly some technical trails out there. Like the Little Sugar course. I mean, it hits everything, but the stuff up. Everyone says Bentonville, but Bella Vista is really where like the mountain bike trails are at, and I enjoyed them at least. But you know, they definitely don't feel as like backcountry or like you're as out there. You always feel like you're kind of close to um, like a residential area. But there's some technical stuff out there.
Yeah, I love yeah, those like just like backcountry style trails. Yeah, I kind of get bummed when a trail is like too maintained or like yeah, I love just like the high country kind of unmaintained rugged trails. Those are always my favorite.
Yeah. We'll have to get you on a mountain bike in Brevard.
Yeah, yeah. I was bummed to not have my mountain bike when I was there because I was like riding on the gravel and then looking to the side, seeing the trails, and I was like, man, wish I was on my mountain bike.
That's how I felt in Spain. Joe's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Too much mental energy.
No, I think I'd love it if it wasn't. I think that around where I am, I've never actually like experienced good mountain biking. Like he's talking about riding up on a ridge with great views, and I'm like, oh, well, I broke my arm 30 feet from a road, like
Yeah, it's
on
a
a
different, yeah,
yeah. I'd
yeah,
definitely like to experience that someday. Not too interested right now with what I have available around me.
for sure. We'll get you on a mountain bike.
Wonderful. Well, oh, he's back. Rostin died briefly. I was just gonna end it without you.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say?
Don't think so. Ready for Unbound
Yeah, me
and
too.
Still ready
BWR.
for
I decided
Unbound.
on. Yeah,
Oh, you're gonna do it?
yeah.
When is that?
The
I
weekend
kind of.
Next
before?
weekend?
No, it's the weekend before. I kind of helped myself.
Okay.
I think I'll be good prep though, because
Yeah.
I'll just recover between. It'll kind of be like the last workout, and then yeah, I'll recover between, and yeah, also will be good to like practice riding in a group and whatnot. So yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm always up for adding more races. Well, good luck there.
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks.
You're, I've got nothing else, so we can end it there. Thanks for hopping on. See you.
Cat, see ya.
Bye.